From the racetrack here in Imola, Italy, welcome to the GCN show.
Welcome to the GCN show, brought to you by Wiggle.
This week we'll be talking about an incredible final week of the Giro d'Italia, including Chris Froome's ride on the Colle delle Finestre and the Giro's biggest financial winners and mostly losers.
Yes, there have been some big losers this week. Will you soon need to have insurance to ride an e-bike on roads in Europe? Quite possibly, we'll be discussing that. Plus, we've got the winners of our Assos giveaway and a new giveaway from Topic.
And if you enjoy this week's GCN show, make sure you hit the thumbs up button.
This week in the world of cycling, we learnt that riding your bike to work is good for you. More on that in cycling shorts later on. We also learnt that Madrid are soon going to ban all non-resident motor vehicles from the city centre starting in November. So that, very shortly, is going to be a very cycling-friendly city.
Their public rental bike scheme is already very cool, actually, Dan. You've got to love a bit of pedal assist.
Oh, they're e-bikes, are they, in the city centre there?
Possibly. Maybe my form was just better back in those days.
No, I think it's probably e-bikes.
We also learned that while Sam Bennett is excellent at wheelies and very, very good at winning Giro d'Italia stages, he does not open the dishwasher.
No, this came from a tweet I put out on Sunday, actually, which explained that most pros from the Giro d'Italia would be at home the following day doing some quite normal everyday chores. However, Tara, his fiancee, then wrote back saying that she doesn't think Sam Bennett even knows where the dishwasher is.
Maybe, just maybe, he's more of a traditional kind of sink full of soapy water and sponge kind of person.
Maybe.
And finally, we learnt that it's definitely not over until the fat soprano sings.
No, that's right. I mean, few people would have bet against Simon Yates winning the Giro d'Italia with 4 stages remaining. However, on stage 18, he showed a sign of weakness on the climb to Prato Nervoso, and then the following day completely capitulated, losing 39 minutes to the stage winner there, Chris Froome.
Froome, meanwhile, was at the opposite end of the spectrum. His Team Sky set a fierce pace up the lower slopes of the Colle delle Finestre, and then Froome attacked towards the summit, leaving all of his rivals in the literal dust, still with over 80 kilometres of the stage remaining. It was bold, it was brave, and it was a do-or-die effort, and I'm not sure that anyone, perhaps even Froome and his team, believed that he could do it. But he did.
He did, most certainly did, didn't he? Not only was he able to solo all the way from there to the finish to take the stage victory, he'd also carved out enough of a time gap over the rest of his rivals to don the Maglia Rosa, the pink jersey, for the first time in the race by a clear 40-second margin from Tom Dumoulin. It was an incredibly gripping stage to watch, wasn't it? Action at the start, action in the middle, and then suspense and excitement right through to the very end. The sort of stage that gets etched into the history books of cycling and looked back upon for years and years to come. Some people compared his exploits to those of Fausto Coppi, the Italian cycling legend from decades ago, whilst others compared it to the exploits of Floyd Landis in 2006.
And therein lies the problem, because we all know Landis' story. The miraculous comeback, which appeared too good to be true, was too good to be true, and he was later stripped of the result.
And I completely understand the scepticism of cycling fans and the annoyance at not being able to perhaps fully celebrate some of the most epic performances in the sport in the modern day. I mean, even Froome's participation at the race at all has been controversial, hasn't it? Because he and everyone else is still awaiting for a final decision on that salbutamol case. We had an adverse analytical finding from the Vuelta last year. But even if it wasn't for the salbutamol case, I think the same questions from cycling fans would still be coming. And it's because of riders like Floyd Landis, plus the many that came before and after Landis, that those questions are around. And I would compare it to being married for 30 years and finding out at the end of that 30 years that for the entire time, your partner has been cheating on you. Now, you might get over it and get married again to a new partner, but you're naturally going to be slightly less trusting and you're going to be looking for signs, you'll be more suspicious and comparisons to your previous relationship. And that's normal. You've been really hurt, so you are going to be less trusting. And I think that's where the cycling public are now. Lots of them that have been into the sport for a long time found out they've been cheated on time and time and time again. And so now, when they see a performance like that, they're automatically going to ask questions.
Definitely, and I think this tweet that we saw from Michael Hitchcock over the weekend really neatly sums up that range of emotions. Michael tweets, "It's hard not to be cynical when a rider attacks with 80 kilometres to go, which is a total shame. I can't enjoy the show without that element of doubt in the back of my mind, perhaps because I was so certain about Lance being clean. It's just a real shame." And that doubt or questioning of exceptional performances has to be a good thing. It keeps a high level of scrutiny on the sport, and it shows the riders, the teams and the sponsors what the general public's expectations are, and that they're not going to be taken for fools again.
No, exactly. And I think the sport is in a decent place now, isn't it? If you compare it to where it was, let's say, 15, 20 years ago, it's hardly comparable. Back then, it was commonplace to have police raids on the teams in hotels. It was commonplace for riders to store blood bags in a fridge or freezer or whatever it is, and then inject them during a race, or EPO or testosterone, or a whole host of other products that were against the rules and illegal. Now we've got to a point where we are questioning the ethics and morals of a rider who takes a substance that is within the rules, say, for example, tramadol. And I think that if you went back to 2003 and you said to Lance Armstrong that the biggest controversy facing the Tour de France champion 15 years later in 2018 was salbutamol, he'd have probably laughed at you. I mean, he wouldn't have been able to at the time because he was claiming that he was clean, hence all the problems. But it just goes to show how far we've come in a very short period of time. Would I have recommended my children get into professional cycling 15 years ago? Possibly not, given the state that the sport was in back then. Would I recommend it to them now? Well, apart from a couple of small concerns personally over road safety and therefore training, yes, I would, because I think the sport is in a pretty healthy place, at least comparatively.
So, what about Chris Froome's ride on stage 19? Well, the honest answer is that, as with any athletic performance, whether a truly unexceptional one or a truly exceptional one, only the athlete is in a position to know whether or not it was a clean performance, and Chris Froome assures us that it absolutely was.
Which is also a bit of a problem in that other riders before Froome have claimed that they could assure us they were clean, and it turns out they weren't. So where do you go from there? Well, I guess you could start comparing times of riders from today versus the times up climbs of riders from a few years ago. For example, climbing_records.com claimed that Froome's time up the Colle delle Finestre, where he made his race-winning move, was a full 2 minutes slower than the record set in 2011 by Jose Rujano, a minute and a half slower than Mikel Landa back in 2015, and a minute slower than Aru, Uran and Hejda from that very same race. But then again, it's quite a dangerous thing to do, comparing times over different years under different conditions, as pointed out by current Strava pro Phil Guyman on Twitter.
Phil tweeted, "To folks analysing climb times from races for doping evidence, take it from a Strava pro. It's all about freshness, equipment, weather and air conditions and race conditions that affect pacing. Individual efforts in one stage mean nothing. You're wasting your time." So let's not waste our time. We could talk about the fact that Team Sky had publicly stated from the very beginning of the year that their aim at the race was to peak in the brutal final week. We could talk about Froome being hindered by 2 of his earlier crashes. And we could then talk about the level of detail and preparation that Team Sky are famed for putting in for races like this. They had a myriad of team helpers on the side of the road during stage 19 to assist with fueling strategy. And the instructions that Chris Froome received on the descent of the Colle delle Finestre from his team director sportif were so detailed that a driver like Sebastian Loeb would have been happy with them.
Yeah, you probably would. If you haven't seen Gary Blem, the Team Sky Mechanics video from that descent, I thoroughly recommend watching that. But actually, yeah, he did take half of his advantage on the descents, didn't he? Which, from my point of view, is remarkable in itself, because back when I was racing with Chris Froome, his descending was absolutely shocking. Genuinely was. Great at going uphill, just not very good at going down the other side. So he's genuinely improved from that point of view. However, we here, or you at home, can analyse everything until the cows come home. But the answer is, we don't really know. What we do know is that anti-doping testing is as good as it's ever been, probably more numerous in terms of the test than it's ever been, and the targeted testing does appear to be working as well, doesn't it? And in general, when they do target tests and they find a positive, it's from a lesser known rider in a lesser known team at a smaller race.
And the question as to whether Chris Froome should have been on the start line in the first place, given his adverse analytical finding at last year's Vuelta, is a different subject altogether. And looking at the comments that you left underneath yesterday's GCN race show, it's clearly something that you have some very, very strong opinions on. But the fact of the matter is that Froome is allowed to race under the rules until the decision on his case, a case which was only made public via a leak, is made. Let's just hope that decision reaches us before the Tour de France.
Yeah, fingers crossed. So, in conclusion, is cycling 100% clean? Absolutely not. We still get positive tests, don't we? Is it in a far, far, far better place than it was 20, 15 or even 10 years ago? Yes, absolutely, 100%. Should we keep asking questions? I definitely think we should do. Should we give up on the sport of pro cycling? I don't think so at all, because I think you can see an enormous number of positives in pro cycling now, if you pardon the pun.
Don't forget to get involved on the comments underneath this video. We really enjoy reading your opinions and we enjoy responding to the comments too. We know that this is going to be a really emotive issue that a lot of you have very strong opinions about, so do be nice to each other.
And us.
And us, yeah. There were some really interesting comments underneath yesterday's GCN race news show that we said we'd get to, and here we are.
Yeah, let's start with this one from Chris, shall we? I'm sort of indifferent to Froome's Giro win. That was quite a rarity in terms of a comment. It's a 3-part, I suppose. Don't really care much for the Giro. That's strange in itself, isn't it? What a great race. Not a fan of Froome. Don't love him, don't hate him. And then add a healthy dose of scepticism regarding the wholesale butymol /doping thing. And I just went, okay, when I read the news about him winning the Giro this year. Neither a thumbs up nor a thumbs down, just indifferent.
Yeah, and then this exchange between Andre Fouche and BB kind of summed up how a lot of you were feeling. So Andre says, to all of Froome's detractors, rest assured he's been tested thoroughly during this tour. Yes, even his bike was screened for doping. It was. The sad thing is that he's been targeted by supporters of other riders and who will not acknowledge the mammoth effort put in by Froome to have won the race. And then BB replied to that and stated that I don't have a problem with Froome winning the race, all credit to him. I have a problem with Froome starting the race.
That does seem to be the problem that a lot of people have with the Giro d'Italia, the fact that he even started in the first place. Incidentally, if you're worried about motors, I have spoken to Gary Blem about this, the Team Sky mechanic in the past, and he's basically offered at any time, at any race, he will completely dismantle Froome's bike in front of somebody if they put a significant donation towards charity. So perhaps if you're suspicious and you've got some money to give to charity, you might want to consider that. And finally, from Dougal Stewart, I love GCN, but it causes me some concern that some of the fantastic set of presenters can't at least show a decent degree of neutrality, re Chris Froome. Seems to the world riders are guilty until proven otherwise. Apologies for this if that's the way it came across on the GCN Racing news show yesterday. It certainly was not my intention to cast aspersions at all on Chris Froome or Team Sky, but simply to acknowledge that there is a vast array of opinions out there at the moment that we couldn't really shy away from. Some of you also took my giving Ben O'Connor Rider of the Week as an insinuation, but it wasn't. We often choose a kind of underdog for Rider of the Week to really showcase a performance that might not necessarily be in the spotlight. It's something we've done many times before.
Definitely, Chris Froome was evidently Rider of the Week or the month because he had a pink jersey and a winner's check in Rome, whereas Ben O'Connor, who was on the back of a fantastic season but crashed out, so kind of lost his results from what could have been his breakthrough Grand Tour, didn't have much, and we thought he was well worthy of raising and discussing because he's definitely a promising rider for the future. But the headline is, we really enjoy reading your comments, so keep them coming in.
It's been quite some time since we gave you an update on the GCN Cycling Club, so here's one for you right now. We had a tremendous response when we first launched GCN CC, so tremendous in fact that we eventually had to suspend memberships because we ran out of socks, didn't we, Darcy?
Yeah, we kind of did, but we've been on the case and we've ordered a load more. So every new member will receive a pair of GCN Cycling Club Founders socks, as held by Dan here, and as modelled by some of our lovely GCN Club members on Instagram.
Yep, and we have also sent our members sock 001, which are the blue and white ones that you can see Lassie has here. We've seen a lot of pictures of these being used out and about on the bike, understandably, but we also had this picture where somebody decided to put a pair on their horse.
We did. We've also got some very, very exciting news about GCN CC. Essentially, we decided that I needed a bit of help as club president.
Yes, definitely.
So we've appointed a GCN Cycling Club community president, which means that every 3 months we will have a new president and they get a ton of kit.
They do, yeah. The new community president will not only get some GCN kit, but also hoodies and t-shirts. And Lasty is going to be in consultation with them about some ideas that we have got to develop GCN CC. Now we'll be giving you more details and telling you who that is on next week's show, as well as showing you the moment that we announced this incredible responsibility, really.
Yeah, definitely. Responsibility and honour.
Yeah.
Like we said at the top of this section, we do have more socks available if you would like to join GCN Cycling Club, and we'll link the website below.
It's now time for cycling shorts.
Cycling shorts now, and since there's been a lot in the way of racing shorts over the past week, we thought we'd start with a few snippets from the Giro d'Italia.
We did, and we're not going to kick it off with something that nice, actually. We're going to play a bit of a game of the financial biggest loser from the last 3 days at the Giro d'Italia, because in my 20 or so years of watching professional cycling, I can't recall a Grand Tour where so many of the leaders and kind of favourites for the race really have entirely dropped out of contention.
Yeah, heartbreak for a number of people at the Giro d'Italia. So to give you an example, if you win the Giro, you firstly receive a prize of 115,000 euros or just over from the organisers, and a strange bonus also from the organisers of 90,000 euros. Simon Yates ended up finishing 21st after dropping out of the pink jersey, which means he didn't get a prize for the overall at all because it only goes down to the top 20, which in turn means that he and his team lost out on a total prize fund for the overall of 205,000 euros. That's got to hurt, hasn't it?
It has, certainly. Thibaut Pinot on track for third place overall, where he would have got 48,000 euros or about 48,000 euros, made up of 28,000 euros plus a 20,000 euro top up from the organisers. Again, lost it all.
Yeah.
The final thing I wanted to mention on the Giro was another thing that I hadn't heard of in all my years of following cycling, which is seeing Froome's Vuelta, Tour and Giro victories referred to as the Tiger Slam. You ever heard that before?
I've never heard of the Tiger Slam.
No. I'd always associated tigers with being orange and black as well.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah,
Just
rather than pink, yellow and red. Strange one, not sure where that came from. If you know, let us know in the comment section down below. Now, on to something slightly less dangerous than tigers. Well, maybe not actually if you have to go uphill. Marcin Biliabocki, who is a Polish rider based here in the UK, formerly riding on the continent in fact, but now specialising in UK time trials, he fitted a 70-tooth chainring to his time trial bike recently to go for one of the records over here in the UK. If you're not familiar with the British time trialling scene, in essence, people go up and down the country searching for fast courses so they can complete 10, 25, 50 or 100 miles as quickly as they possibly can. And some courses, quite obviously, are a lot faster than others.
Yeah, what do you think it would take to spin out 70-11? I reckon I would need a 30% dead straight hill with no oncoming traffic on perfect tarmac.
I think I would need a home trainer where the tyre wasn't quite meeting with the roller, so I had no resistance.
Well, I looked on the inimitable Sheldon Brown's website to find out exactly how fast you'd have to be going to spin 70-11. It turns out that for 90 RPM on a standard road bike, you'd be going about 74 kilometres an hour.
As you can see, there's was rather a large downhill towards the start of the course, which always helps in getting your speed up at the beginning. Nevertheless, very impressive time from Biliabocki, 43 minutes and 21 seconds for 25 miles. That is an average speed, the average, not max, of just under 36 miles per hour, or just under 56 kilometres per hour. And it's not even the British record, which is also held by Biliabocki. He covered that course 21 seconds fast, or 23 seconds fast, just a couple of weeks previous.
Yeah, those speeds are definitely things that I associate with max on a ride, rather than average, and probably max speeds when I used to time trial as well, to be fair.
Very true.
Moving on from that, there has been a recent EU directive which has said that e-bike users should have third-party insurance. We'll put the full text of the directive on screen now, as it seems to be hinting that due to directives and rules already in place, e-bike users and also automated vehicle drivers, or drivers of driverless cars, if that makes sense, should perhaps have already had third-party insurance in place. Something that we'll be keeping an eye on, as I imagine, with our friends at EMBN.
Yeah, we will be.
Some good news as well here that we can take home with us and take back to work again, which is a study recently published in the British Medical Journal found that people who use their bikes to commute to work may well basically live longer. So your risk of cardiovascular disease, cancer and all-cause mortality was reduced by commuting by bike.
Well, that is good news, isn't it? And if you're already commuting by bike and you'd like to take things up another level, we're here to help. Well, we're not, but Emma Pooley is, because she has done a series here on GCN all about training on your commute. So if you haven't checked that out already, make sure you do so. And if you've been following it, we'd like to know how you're getting on. Let us know in the comment section down below. Have you improved?
Time now for the GCN Wiggle of Fortune. Dan, what could have one lucky viewer win?
One lucky viewer could win one of 4 prizes. I could win a prize as well. Not going to mention it until I actually win the thing. It's never happened so far. But the 4 prizes provided by Wiggle are firstly £25 of vouchers if it lands on prize 4. Prize 3 is £50, prize 2 £75, and the big one, £150 of Wiggle vouchers to spend on what you want over at the Wiggle online shop if it lands on prize 1. Lastly, who is the lucky contestant this week?
This week's very lucky contestant, Dan, is Neil Orr from Britain.
So without further ado, let's see what Neil is going to win. You're going to give us the countdown, lastly. He's in charge of the button this week.
3, 2, 1.
And we are off. Fast spinning wheel this week. There's the bid gone. Again. Gone again. Prize 4, prize 3, prize 2. Is it going to be prize 1? I think it might be.
Is it going to be prize 4?
Neil must be nervous. Oh no, Neil!
Oh, Neil.
Oh, it's a bit like Mitchelton Scott's prize money at the Giro then. Looked like it was going to be loads. Still a bit though, unlike Mitchelton Scott for the overall general classification. Although they did pick up some money for stages, didn't they? 5 stage winning race. So it's very similar actually.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, £25 of wiggle vouchers will be winging their way to you. Make sure you write in and let us know what you spend those on. And if you would like to put yourself in with a chance of being the contestant next week, you know what to do. There is a link in the description below and you've just got to follow that.
Tech of the week now, and Pirelli has announced a brand new road tubeless tyre called the Cinturato Velo. The tyre is built to be durable, so it can be used on anything from smooth roads through to really quite rough gravel tracks. It's tubeless first, but you can also use it with tubes, and this is where Pirelli say that their biggest breakthrough came because the demands on tubed versus tubeless tyres differ so greatly, yet they state that this tyre doesn't really sacrifice anything in performance, however which way you use it.
There's also a new virtual cycling world out there. It's been in development for the past couple of years, but it's now in its beta version, which means you can try it out. It's called Road Grand Tours. You're able to do things such as customizing your avatar. You can use it in conjunction with a smart trainer, and it uses real-world locations, with 2 examples currently being the Stelvio and Mont Ventoux, which sounds pretty interesting. And now, since it's in its beta version as well, as I said, you can try it out and make sure you let us know what it's like.
Yeah, definitely do that. And, you know, it's clearly a direct competitor with Zwift, but I think competition's always a good thing.
Always healthy to have competition, yeah.
Onwards and upwards. Something that we wouldn't usually mention on the GCN show is mountain bike tech, but I think this week we actually have cause to mention it, in part to almost celebrate the fact that as road cyclists we got a really cool bit of tech before the mountain bike.
Yeah, we got there first.
They didn't have it and then it came across to us. So Doddy was at the recent round of the Mountain Bike World Cup in Novo Mesto in the Czech Republic, and he took a good look at SRAM's wireless mountain bike system. It doesn't have a name yet, but it looks pretty close to being complete. And the cool thing about this is, obviously being a mountain bike group set, it's a 1x group set, so it has a clutch wireless rear mech. So it could have some really great applications down the line for, I guess, particularly gravel and cross.
Yeah,
maybe
true.
Some road riders as well, so we'll have to see if that happens in time.
Yeah, as you said, we're mainly just gloating about the fact that we got the technology first, mountain bikers. Sorry about that. Right, let's finish by having a look at some of the custom tech on display on the last day of the Giro d'Italia, namely 2 bikes actually. Elio Viviani won the points classification where he got a Ciclamino jersey, so Specialized provided him with this frame, which is a purple fade. Not sure what you think about that. You can get a chance to let us know in a minute. First though, take a look at this bike. It's from Chris Froome. A lot of pink on there from Pinarello. In fact, when he was riding around, there wasn't much of him or his bike that wasn't pink. That sound right? Well, we'll leave it in there anyway. Let us know what you think about these 2 bikes and which was your favourite.
Yeah, you can vote just up there, so let us know. You know the score. You can, of course, catch up on all the racing news in our weekly cycling race news show, but we've got a few little bits and pieces for you here.
We have, starting with some rumours lastly. We love a rumour, don't we, here at GCN? Not normally true, but nevertheless, we shall go with it anyway. That rumour is, and it's come from the Giro d'Italia, that Egan Bernal, the incredible talent that is 21-year-old Egan Bernal of Team Sky, might be doing the Tour de France. So the cycling podcast spoke to Team Sky at the Giro d'Italia, and they suggested they might be pulling Bernal out of the Criterium de Dauphiné, presumably to give him more time to prepare for the Tour. And if he does it, I'm going to be very excited because he is a climber and a half, isn't he? Yeah,
he's clearly a supremely talented young cyclist, but he is still very young. He's only 21.
Yeah.
I think, though, if there were still 9 rider teams in Grand Tours, you'd imagine that Team Sky would have him at the Tour.
Yeah, you'd have thought so. Makes it more difficult with 8, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Next up, the hashtag 84kg is now over, Dan. Is
it?
Yeah. So
Ryan Mullen?
Ryan Mullen. It was being used by Trek Segafredo and their rider Ryan Mullen at the Giro d'Italia, but Mullen lost about a kilo a week during the race.
All right.
So he's now
just have to change the hashtag.
Now incredibly lean, so we're probably looking at hashtag 81 kg.
Yeah, he is incredibly muscular, though, Ryan Mullen, isn't he? It's quite a lot to take around all the mountains of the Giro, 81 kilograms or 84 as it was at the start. But I reckon he is the only rider in professional cycling that, why are you looking at my muscles when I say this? The only rider in professional cycling who can stand next to Mario Cipollini and not look like a complete weed.
Away from the Giro, Dan, the Mitchelton Scott team have been on fire.
They have.
This last week. They've taken a bunch of 1-2s, including at the Amacameen Bira, where Amanda Spratt and Annemiek van Vleuten took 1-2 there. At Hoik, Gerardsberg and Hoik, they took a 1-2 with Sarah Roy and Gracie Elvin, and then they went and won every single stage, and of course the overall, at the Hammer Stavanger.
They did. Absolutely dominant they were, all those races. Quite incredible, really. But we're very excited, actually, speaking of the Hammer series, in that we're going to be live streaming the Hammer Limburg starting this coming Friday. And we've also got daily highlights of the Criterium de Dauphiné. Go over to our Facebook page for them, and in fact you can find links to those in the description below this video.
You certainly can. So the Hammer Series Limburg is going to be live from just before 4 p.m. UK time, just before 5 p.m. European time, just before 11 a.m. Eastern, and just before 8 a.m. Pacific time, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And we'd really like for you to join. We'll link each of the events down in the description, and you can click on those and set a reminder so that you don't miss out.
And then also on the Facebook page is where you will be able to find the Criterium de Dauphiné highlights. We're going through all the main talking points from each and every stage, and we're going to have some exclusive insights from some of the riders that are doing the race, which is pretty exciting. So make sure you check that out.
If you can't tell, we're just incredibly excited to be bringing you live race coverage and race highlights over on our Facebook page. You can, wherever you are in the world, watch the Criterium de Dauphiné highlights packages, and pretty much we've got near global coverage for the Hammer Series Limburg as well. So make sure you do set reminders for those events, and also tell your cycling friends to join too. You know, the more the merrier. We're looking forward to having you join us.
Yeah, we want to get the word out to as many cycling fans as possible that it is available to watch for free. Because as Larty said, we're extremely excited about it.
Time to announce some giveaway winners, Dan. So last week we announced our ASOS cycling clothing and gear giveaway. And the two lucky winners are Stephen Drinkrow from New Zealand and Alice Silva from Italy. Congratulations to both of you. Those are very cool prizes.
Yeah, well done, Stephen and Alice. We'll be in touch very shortly indeed, so that we can get those kit bundles out to you as soon as possible. Moving on to this week's brand new giveaway. You'll remember that Si recently went out to Morocco to do some bike packing with the expert in that subject, that is Josh Ibbott. Since then, we have teamed up with our partners over at Topic to give away some prizes so that you can go and give bike packing a try for yourself. So 10 lucky winners will get 2 bags each, the front loader and the back loader, which attach to your handlebars and your seat posts respectively. So whether you're going out credit card touring and getting hotels each night, or perhaps doing it properly and going into the wild and being self-supported, they're going to help you on your way.
Which would you do, Dan? Credit card or wild camping?
Take a guess, Lasty. Yeah, credit card.
Yeah, okay, there we go. We'll put the link in the description below if you'd like to enter.
Hack / bodge of the week now. Don't forget, if you'd like to get involved, the hashtag is GCN hack. We will look at Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Starting things off for us this week is Open Book Coffee. The customised length of the twig crutch gave me the centre of the cassette and 3 chain rings to make the final 18 kilometres home. Open Book MacGyver. Well done on finding a twig that was that shape.
It's a bodge.
It's still a bodge, yeah, of course it's a bodge, Lasty.
I can't believe it held for 18 kilometres.
No.
Fair play. Tano Snap from Singapore. When you're the size of a gorilla, everything on the bike flexes.
Yeah, I find that.
Adding more strength to the handlebar with some T800 carbon fibres. Time to stiffen things up for those crits.
Well, I presume that works. 2 extra grams there, but I guess the extra stiffness helps if you're that big. Don't read into that sentence too much at home. Next up from Victor Salvi, moving quickly on, homemade truing stand
It was a hack.
and wheel alignment gauge. Works like a charm, hashtag GCN hack. Well, that looks very similar to one that you can buy off the shelf, doesn't it? So I would definitely say that that is a hack.
Solid hack, Victor. And also Tano, yours was a hack as well. Oliver Young, sidewall blowout fixed with an empty gel packet and dental floss. That's a
Why have you got dental floss out on the ride
Yeah.
to start with? I mean, definitely a hack, but I mean, that is MacGyver there, isn't it? If you've got those sorts of spares in your rear saddlebag. Next up, Ben Plunkett sent us this video. Might have seen something similar on the show before, still pretty cool. I counted 5 speakers in total. Hi-fi bike? It's quite loud, that last, isn't it? I'm not sure what I think about people that want other people to know what music they're listening to. It's a bit like those boy racers that we used to get in the UK that blare their music out of their cars. I know that I'm sounding slightly old and bitter now, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a bodge. Yeah, it's a total bodge. Okay, Dan, following on from your previous comment, I think I'm going to let you take Tom Sawyer's.
Yes.
Submission.
Okay. All right. Give me all the awkward ones lastly. Tom Sawyer. Yes. Hey lads, my mate Dave decided to use a condom so he could waterproof his saddlebag at the Tour Connemara this weekend. Is it a hack or a bodge? I guess it works, but it's rather unsightly, isn't it? There's nothing more you can say, is there? No. Bodge. End of story. Don't forget to keep sending your hacks and bodges in. We'll feature our favourite ones this time next week.
Caption of the week now, and it's your turn to find out if you might have won a GCN Camelback water bottle.
This is last week's photo from the Giro d'Italia with Chris Froome riding out the Zoncolan next to a dinosaur, at least a human dressed up as a dinosaur. Winner is Tim Bishop with the caption, I don't know if there's enough Froome on this road for the both of us. I'm not sure quite where I was going with that accent, but we found that very funny, as did 65 other people who liked it. So well done to you, Tim. Get in touch with us via message on Facebook and we'll get that bottle out to you.
An overwhelming winner. This week's caption photo is
Quite similar.
kind of, yeah, continuation of a theme. It's a race favourite at the Giro being chased by a person dressed as an animal. This time Tom Dumoulin and a pig. Dan, I know you've got a good...
Yes. Don't get too close to Tom Dumoulin, otherwise you might be a pig in
If you can do better than that, and you might struggle because Dan's caption is actually okay this week.
Yes.
Make sure you comment below and you could win a GCN Camelback water bottle.
Not just this week, Lasty, I've been on a roll.
I didn't know. Comment of the week now, Dan. I thought we should take a bit of a breather and a step away from the Giro d'Italia comments. And I found this one, which was so nice that I wondered if it was from one of your false accounts. It's from Mari Gianetti, who says, as a spinning instructor and road cyclist, I can't recommend GCN's training videos enough. Dan is such a brainiac with great hair. Be aware that the shorter the session, the harder he's going to punish you. Awesome. It was only at the great hair comment and the one...
Well, it seemed like a genuine comment to me. It didn't even seem sarcastic.
Yeah,
not true, of course, about the brainiac thing in particular. Neither the hair, I'm sure many of you will say. But I will take that. Thanks for pointing it out to me, Lasty. Also, this from Will McGrain. The Rostiltian. I didn't know how to pronounce it. I still don't, unfortunately. The Rostiltian. What? What's the actual name? Thanks. Well, I'm afraid I still don't know. I've got my favourite website called forvo.com that helps you with pronunciations. It wasn't on there, so I was none the clearer.
It was called the Ampost Ross when you used to ride it. You used to ride it, but it's the Pro-Am Tour of Ireland, and it's a legendary race in the British Isles.
Oh, it is an absolutely unique race in that you get pro riders against county riders, and it basically all goes off from the gun every single day. It's so unpredictable, but fantastic race. Right. Should we move on to what's on the channel this week?
We certainly should.
Yeah, so coming up on Wednesday, we've got a special on how to plan a bike packing trip. And then on Thursday, it's actually the start of Gravel Week right here on GCN. And as such, we are starting with top 10 gravel rides. Then on Friday, we've got Ask GCN Anything.
Plus, on Friday, we're also going to have our first of the live events from the Hammer Series Limburg. So it's the Hammer Climb, which will be starting from about 4 p.m. UK time, 5 p.m. European, or 8 a.m. if you're on the Pacific coast of the US. On Saturday, we'll have How to Ride a Gravel Bike and the Hammer Sprint live at the same times as the Hammer Climb. And on Sunday, we'll be looking at a big question. Is FTP dead? So we'll have a version on GCN and we'll have an in-depth, very geeky version with Professor Louis Passfield over on GCN Tech 2. Plus, on Sunday, we'll have the final round of the Hammer Series Limburg, the Hammer Chase live, and that'll be from the same times as the previous two stages. Plus, we'll have highlights of the Criterium de Dauphiné.
Yeah, lots to remember. Plus, also next week, the usuals on Monday, the GCN Racing News Show, and Tuesday we'll be back in the set for another edition of the GCN Show. Well, I'm afraid that's the end of this week's GCN show. We'll, of course, be back at the same time next week, but loads of stuff for you to view on the channel between now and then.
There certainly is, so make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you've enjoyed this week's GCN show. As we mentioned more than a few times during this video, we're very excited about the live racing we have coming up, and that is all linked in the description. Before you go, however, we should also let you know about the outlet sale going on at shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com. So head on over and grab a deal. We'll link it on screen at the end of this video.
Now, if you haven't yet seen the following video, I can thoroughly recommend it to you. Very interesting indeed. It's from Science, all about spinning versus grinding, which is quite a hot topic right now. You can find it just down here.